in the world right now. I mean, nothing to do with the president. Let's just take that out of it. But Massey has done nothing to move forward the agenda even before President Trump was in. He was always the vote that was going to vote no. It wasn't like even his Senator Rand Paul, who just would not vote. He doesn't.
Now, I'm no fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene without a shadow of a doubt. And I do not accept what Ilhan Omar said in regards to embracing Marjorie Taylor Greene. I believe this is all just a ploy because of the fact that the person that she helped put in a powerful position has just completely turned on her. But I wanted to show you guys this clip and give you guys my thoughts and my perspective plain and simply, because it just highlights the truth about Donald Trump, how evil he is, how disgusting he is, and I also like to just see the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene is on the negative end of the very thing that she helped create. As usual, let's watch the clip in full and then I'll give you guys my thoughts, my commentary, and my perspective towards the end. Let's get into it.
And progressive YouTuber Brian Tyler Cohen, along with Ashley Davis, national security expert and author of The Power Pivot. Thank you both for being here to react tonight. So, Ashley, just your reaction to Thomas Massey's loss, fresh off the press.
Well, I'm super happy, to be honest with you, because I think that, number one, the speaker is probably the happiest man in the world right now. I mean, nothing to do with the president. Let's just take that out of it. But Massey has done nothing to move forward the agenda even before President Trump was in. He was always the vote that was going to vote no. It wasn't like even his Senator Rand Paul, who just would not vote. He doesn't vote against things that ended the deficit. Everyone knows that. No one depends on his votes on those type of things. But Massey just voted no on everything. So I think it's a really positive move for Republicans. If we do end up holding the House, at least we have a vote that we can count on.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Speaker Johnson is always relying on the math, and to have one less person who is constantly saying no will be helpful to him over the course of the next couple of months, certainly. Brian, of course, President Trump had a big hand in this. He actively helped campaign against Thomas Massey. We saw the Secretary of War down in that district ahead of this election tonight. It's clear that President Trump is still the leader of the Republican Party and still putting wins on the board. But what about Democrats? I mean, you have former President Barack Obama, who went into Georgia, campaigned for this Supreme Court case in that state, losing tonight. Sarah Warren will keep that seat. So who's the leader of the Democratic Party at this point if the former president can't win a seat like that in Georgia?
We'll figure out who the leader of the Democratic Party is soon enough. I mean, we have an election coming up for midterms, and, that's what our focus is on right now. Obviously, after that, we're going to have God knows how many Democrats throw their hat into the ring, and we'll figure out who the leader of the Democratic Party is shortly thereafter. But I think it's interesting that in none of the lead up to what you're discussing now with Thomas Massey, did anybody name the number one thing that caused Donald Trump to push out Massey in the first place, and that was his support, Massey's support for the Epstein files. That's why this is all happening. That's why Donald Trump turned on him, which is especially ironic given the fact that Trump and all of his administration officials were falling over themselves to demand the release of the Epstein files when they were just on the campaign. But as soon as it became clear that Trump was implicated in those files, that his name was listed in those files, God knows how many times, then all of a sudden they wanted Massey out.
Brian, we all know that President Trump signed legislation to release millions of Epstein documents, and he is not implicated criminally in any of this.
3.5 million files they refused to release.
In any of this. So for you to imply that there are crimes committed is completely dishonest. Ashley, your response to that.
So then why don't they release the other 3.5 million files?
That's not why President Trump went after Thomas Massey, as Ashley eloquently pointed out. But Ashley, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that. I mean, Massey's been a problem for a long, long time. I mean, obviously, this is his 8th term. I mean, he doesn't vote with us ever. So I understand your talking point in regards to the Epstein files on the Democrat side, but that has nothing to do with how bad of a Republican member he was.
Neither one of you think that the Epstein files had anything to do with Trump turning on Thomas Massey?
No,
Brian.
No, Massey hasn't voted for any of the Republican priorities. Not the big, big beautiful bill. Nothing.
It's funny to me. I understand. Like everybody has to pretend that the Epstein files on the right has to pretend that the Epstein files are not a thing anymore. But everybody watching and everybody who's going to see this on the internet is going to know how clownish all of this is. That you are both pretending like the Epstein files had nothing to do with this when the people that Trump has turned on, he's done as a direct result of their support
Brian,
for the
the
Epstein
president
files.
has been very clear over and over again for months why he believed that Thomas Massie was not the man for the job. The person who replaced him is a former Navy SEAL who is going to go in and vote for the party, for the country, for the president's agenda when this is a district that President Trump won by 85%. So I know that Democrats only started to care about the Epstein files when it was politically convenient for them. They had nothing to say about it for 4 years under Joe Biden when he was in charge of the DOJ. They were releasing nothing. President Trump is the one who decided to sign the legislation to release these documents. And I find it quite interesting that when I ask you who is the leader of the Democratic Party, when Barack Obama and Kamala Harris got their butts kicked tonight in Georgia and in other places around the country, losing that Supreme Court case in Georgia, losing the redistricting fight in Virginia, losing the fight in Louisiana, losing the fight all over the map, you want to change the subject and talk about the Epstein files once again.
Answer me just one question. Did they release all of the files?
They are in the process of redacting to release all the files because we want to make sure, and I would hope you would agree with this. Look, I'm not going to allow a conversation that's supposed to be about elections to be derailed by you to talk about the Epstein files when you don't want to talk about how the Democrats lost tonight. They continue to lose. Ashley, Democrats don't have any money. Democrats are losing to President Trump. He is the leader of the party.
He co-sponsored the Epstein files.
Brian can't even tell me who's in charge of the Democratic Party because Barack Obama clearly is, and he's losing.
Of course
so
he's
Ashley,
not.
what shape are Democrats in when it comes to November? Brian, stop talking over me. I'm going to cut your mic. Stop talking over everybody. Nobody can hear you. No one can understand what you're saying. We'd like to have a conversation, not a talking over each other. Ashley, please assess the situation for Democrats going into November, considering they lost tonight, they continue to lose these redistricting fights, and they have no money going into the elections in November.
Well, listen, I think obviously if you look at any historical race in regards to a midterm, it's going to be very tough for us. And I think it's going to continue to be. However, we have had a lot of things that have actually gone our way in regards to some of the Supreme Court cases, in regards to redistricting, in regards to some of these good candidates. I mean, listen, I've known John Cornyn for a long, long time. I thought it was very interesting today. The president came out and he endorsed, obviously, the Attorney General, Paxton. Everyone knows that he has a lot of personal issues coming into this, but he was still the most popular candidate. And I think Tellerico is actually a strong candidate. I'm going to give Democrats the benefit of the doubt there. He is a good candidate. However, I think Paxton's what the president's doing right now, which is what he's been saying he's going to do. And by the way, Katie, he hasn't even unleashed all of his money. Yeah. And that's supposed to start, James Blair's leaving the White House here in the next couple of weeks, and they're going to unleash this, huge machine that the president has and has built, not just with money, but with people. And I think that's how we can actually win.
Run. I appreciate both of your time.
Here's my perspective on this interview. And honestly, they both look like Dumb and Dumber to me. Some of the things she said, which I believe are true, just highlight how corrupt and disgusting Donald Trump is. That's no surprise. But both of them are playing completely dumb. They won't say why Trump actually flipped on her over the Epstein files, but the reason is simple. Trump is named in those files more than almost anyone else. It's not about protecting his friends, it's about protecting himself. When you look at his aggressive response combined with the massive cover-up efforts from the DOJ and Pam Bondi, it's obvious Trump is likely implicated. A man with nothing to hide doesn't turn on a loyal supporter who always had his back. It's embarrassing to watch them both pretend they don't get it. It was also interesting hearing her complain about death threats against her child. Think about Greene's track record. How many online pile-ons has she started that led to other people getting death threats? She has contributed to that toxic culture more than almost anyone else in MAGA. She is a vicious woman, so I'm not going to sit here and fake any sympathy for her. As for Piers Morgan, his shock just shows how blinded he is. This is exactly who Trump is, and Piers knows it. He only plays along because Trump gives him access. Look how hard Piers goes on people when he isn't protecting a friendship, like his interviews with Nick Fuentes or Kanye West. Trump is just as bad, if not worse, but Piers has zero energy for him because Trump is where his bread is buttered. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. While you're down there, do me a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and turn on notifications. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next clip.